Based upon Lev Grossman's best-selling books, The Magician centers around Brakebills University, a secret institution specializing in magic. Amidst an unorthodox education of spellcasting, a group of 20-something friends soon discover that a magical fantasy world they read about as children is all too real and poses a grave danger to humanity. All of that with an obscene amount of drinking and a lot of musical numbers that I personally didn't ask for. Although the show is set in a school for magic, the real appeal of The Magicians, I think, is the characters. For better or worse, they have depth, and each have a major character arc as the story unfolds. Since magic comes from pain, they also all have had trauma and stress in their lives. Many are a little or a lot crazy. The show starts with the character of Quentin. Quentin's a huge Fillory fanboy who discovers magic is real and begins to attend Brakebills to learn it. Julia is his best friend who gets rejected by Brakebills and embarks on a different path to learn magic on her own. Alice is another new student to Brakebills, and she's far better at magic than the rest. Penny is a traveler, a rare type of magic user who can teleport around his world. Eliot and Margo are older students at Brakebills. A wide cast of teachers and other students get caught up on the action too. One of the major themes of Grossman's The Magicians is that happiness is an evolving process shaped through the personal growth of the individual. In The Magicians, Quentin undertakes a fantastical journey to find happiness. But happiness is not a place. Rather, it's about the person and how they embrace life. Quentin searches for that perfect moment and believes he finds it, first in the magic of Brakebills, then with the physical kids, and later with Alice. However, his happiness is either short-lived or tainted, leading him to once more resume his search. When he discovers that Fillory is a real place, Quentin believes he will finally know true happiness. When Fillory fails to live up to his expectations, he retreats into alcohol and indifference. What's great about the show is that every character is allowed to shine in his or her respects. We see them grow and we become more attached to the characters. I love some things and hate some things about all the characters. They can be a little unpredictable at times, especially characters like Quentin and Eliot, and even Julia. So I decided to rank each character from worst to best, with a quick deep dive into each one so we can better understand their arcs. Quentin Coldwater is the protagonist and main character in the novel, who I think most of us can agree is the most annoying. Quentin comes from a middle-class family, has a high GPA, and good friends, but is unhappy with his life. He also reads Christopher Plover's fantasy series Fillory and Further to escape from his unhappiness. Being a student at Brakebills has its ups and downs. He meets Alice, Eliot, and the other members of the physical kids, and for a time he feels like he has finally made it and found the home he's been looking for. But a spell goes wrong that allows the beast to enter. Quentin never quite forgives himself, and over time his optimism wanes and a sense of melancholy and anxiety gain greater hold over him.
I don't know, this thing that I couldn't shake where I felt like because nothing was ever not going to be pointless and empty, then why go on?
Melancholy is not new to Quentin and will periodically resurface when things aren't going the way he expects them to go. His expectation that anything good is always on the verge of being lost forever defines how he manages relationships and plans for the future. He doesn't talk about mental illness as if it's a part of how he experiences the world. He talks about it whenever he's in a tight spot and needs an excuse to try and justify his ridiculous behavior and foolish decisions, particularly with Alice. When Kady was being blackmailed and threatened by Marina, she hated what she had to do to survive. As a hedge witch, she hasn't always followed societal laws, but she has always followed the rules of the hedges. Kady is a girl with a strong character and cold, detached attitude, trying to ward off potential friends or feelings, preventing any sort of attachment because of previous betrayals. She speaks her mind, though she keeps many secrets, and has a questionable sense of style. She always tries to do the right thing for people around her. Penny is just about the only person she can stand, which I'm not sure is a good thing, because their relationship can be a little codependent at times. Besides Julia, Kady hasn't really formed many friend connections. I would have definitely liked to see more of a dynamic between her and Eliot or Margo or even Alice. Penny is a smart mouth with a tough exterior. Penny never missed a chance to bully Quentin. And although he overdid it at times, he was saying everything we were thinking.
Some dumbass kid's book? Why do you have all that nerd boy dragging porn shit anyway? Are you 12?
Though the character can be divided into two Pennies, Penny 40 and Penny 23, it's fair to say that both versions of Penny have largely been good. They fight when they could flee. They help when they aren't bound to. They both regularly risk their lives for the people they love and for the world at large. Even when good sometimes means letting your friends take advantage of you and your teleportation abilities so that they can continue to survive and save the world. Julia has always had a faulty sense of good and bad. When Julia is sent home from the Breakbills test, she takes a hard swing towards a more evil path. She's willing to do anything it takes to grow as a magician, but after accidentally summoning Reynard, she begins to see the benefits of doing acts of good for other people. Throughout several difficult encounters, Julia grows into her new role as a demigoddess. Just as the gods are about to whisk her away to an eternal existence, untroubled by moral dilemmas, she decides to give up her goddesshood and return to her friends to save them, which puts her back into the path of good. In fact, her entire storyline in the first season is a kind of anti-hero's journey. Julia, unlike Quentin, is not accepted into the university, so her storyline, as interesting as it is subordinated to the main one. Her path isn't as glamorous as Quentin's, and while Quentin, we may safely assume, is on the path of heroism, Julia is on a much more difficult path that takes her on a roller coaster from self-destruction to heroism. In most of Margo's early scenes, her behavior is icy and mean.
Wait, I'm seeing your future now. Gay porn?
In season 2, we see Margo branch out. After a weird desert musical episode, Margo's character development seems to have come full circle, with her finally being able to reconcile the parts of herself that want to be queen with the parts of herself that are afraid to reach her full potential. Every monarch loves power, and Margo is no different, but she is ruthless when it comes to protecting what is hers, which right now is all of Fillory.
I curse Sven's name, but if I were you, I'd listen to her and wait! Be nice to her. Your grandkids will fear me!
Margo has transformed from a mean girl trope to the steely High King of Fillory. Margo is a strong, independent woman who is not afraid to speak her mind. Also, her eye patch game is on point, realistic but occasionally too harsh. She secures her position as High Queen of Fillory and helps keep her best friend turned King Eliot in check.
Is XOXOing us full on that great song by the Police?
That Farouja Balk in the crowd.
Yeah, more Cersei Lannister.
All while upping the wardrobe ante, smarter than people give her credit for. Margo becomes a force to be reckoned with, as she helps the kingdom and faces off against a looming fairy threat. Also, while we're at it, can we talk about Margo and Eliot's insanely codependent relationship? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great to see a strong friendship that's probably gonna last for life.
Got these for you, bitch.
Aww.
Thanks, bitch. But I can't help to think that the only reason Eliot and Margo continue being kings and queens, despite failing to rule a kingdom that refuses to be fixed and almost getting executed, is because they know that the moment they abandon their thrones, they become nothing. Because who are they really without magic? For much of the show, Eliot has been a bit inactive. In season 1 and 5, he's reeling from a host of complicated emotions, and he copes with that by overindulging in alcohol and drugs.
Margo, I am miserable. My life, it doesn't work. Nothing's ever fixed that. Drugs, sex, food, booze. Not even magic.
During season 4, he's indisposed as a monster possessed and used his body. When he's in his right mind, Josh is more willing to go along with whatever his High King and best friend Margo chooses to do. That is ever since he was overthrown as High King himself. Eliot doesn't want anything bad to happen to anyone else and will go out of his way to help you. But even his friends are wary of his actions, with both Margo and his wife Fen making frequent comments about his tendency to avoid conflict. Witty, charming, but melancholic. On the surface, Eliot is carefree, cracking jokes and dressing to nines, but that hides a loneliness and insecurity that bleeds through at the edges. He has a fondness for fine wines, but drinks too much, and occasionally his jokes cut a little more deep than would be strictly funny. However, he's the unspoken leader of his group of friends, due to his charm and intelligence. Alice originally attended Breakbills to uncover the secrets behind what happened to her brother Charlie. While attending, she falls head over heels for Quentin. Besides her love for him, Alice seeks to mostly stay out of any drama or sources of tension. Fiercely intelligent but reserved, Alice is introverted and seldom speaks up. However, when she does, she's not afraid to share her knowledge or correct someone's misperceptions.
My parents are useless crazy people who never taught me a drop of magic. Okay, so if you think that my family's some sort of advantage, you've been misinformed.
She is honest, even if she can be nervous about sharing her thoughts. Alice is complicated, very, very complicated. She spent the majority of her time on the magicians, fighting her battles solo, oftentimes making decisions that ostracize her from everyone else. Alice is the very definition of what it means to be flawed, multifaceted and perpetually living in gray. She's also an incredibly gifted magician. Magic seeps from her pores. It's interwoven into the very fabric of her being. She has the magical instincts that can't be taught. Alice is also in the league of her own when it comes to natural intellect. She's an inherently good person that's made some poor decisions along the way. Alice Quinn is proof that bad decisions don't necessarily make us bad, but are indicative of our humanity. It begs the ever-elusive question, is anyone really good or evil? Alice tries to do what she thinks is best, and that's all we can do. The Magicians is revolutionizing the way we think about heroes. What's remarkable about this adaptation of Lev Grossman's acclaimed fantasy trilogy is that for all the ways it plugs from the plot, characters and story structures of pop culture fantasy series like Harry Potter and Narnia, it also subverts the classical framework that all these stories and so many others follow, that of the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell, author of The Hero with 1,000 Faces, famously wrote that the hero's journey follows a distinct path with familiar obstacles that the protagonist must overcome. This narrative framework, which contains plot points like a call to action, a passage into an unknown world, a personal transformation, and the hero's eventual return, is omnipresent in TV shows, books, films, and more. What makes The Magicians different is that it establishes a hero just to have him dethroned by other characters in the story. It makes us reframe not only our understanding of the show's characters, but the very idea of a hero itself. The initial protagonist in the story about a university specializing in magicians is the depressed loner, Quentin Coldwater. Clearly the Harry Potter analogy. when we first meet our villain, the Beast. As he waltzes into the classroom one day, he recognizes Quentin. This is Quentin's Voldemort moment, one that signals to us that Quentin is the most essential character in the story, though there are other worthy principals, like Julia, whose Hedwig storyline runs parallel to Quentin's, or Alice, the brilliant Hermione Granger of the group. Quentin is clearly the nexus of the action. But once we near the end of the first season, the Magicians throws a wrench into its own narrative. Quentin realizes that he might not be the hero the story needs.
I want to be the one. I do. It's the adult part of me. The part of me that understands how magic works. It just keeps screaming that it's you.
With that, Quentin passes on his hero duties to Alice, saying that she's a better magician and perhaps the true hero of the story, as she's ultimately the one to defeat the Beast. Even Julia, not Quentin, is the exception this time, and she becomes the most powerful one of the group, an actual god. Despite its uneven writing and poor treatment of some of its characters, the Magician still succeeds in one of its central aims, dismantling the tropes of the fantasy genre and reconfiguring them in ways that are innovative and contemporary. There is a moral at the heart of the Magicians, and it's the approach to the hero's journey, one about adulthood and responsibility, about having the courage to accept one's quest when it presents itself, along with the consequences. But it's also about realizing when the quest isn't yours to take, when the conventional hero isn't any more the chosen one than anyone else. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this analysis. Comment your ideas down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thank you once again, and goodbye.